Hello, everyone. Sat Sangat Astrology here. I am here now to talk about the USA Pluto return. When we analyze return charts, right, is the time when a planet comes to the natal position. And Pluto has been in orb, as I said, for a couple of years already, because we consider when especially the outer planets is about 3 degrees away, applying, and 3 degrees away, separating, we consider that it is the return, right, for an outer planet that moves so slowly. Now, we have seen profound transformations in the last 2-3 years with Pluto in Capricorn, right, for the United States. Now we have 3 or 4 more years of transformations, and probably until Pluto enters Aquarius, which is 3 degrees away, separating. Now, for today, there is a lot of information that I have to share with you, and I will probably have another video because it's too much for just one video, and I don't want to bother you or bore you for such a long time, you know, with sorry. With a long and a lot of information, but if you have followed me, you have watched my previous 3 videos where I was talking about the events of last year and how Pluto was preparing for the conjunction, right, with natal USA Pluto. Now, today I'm going to talk about the chart of the return, which happens on February 20th, 2022. Okay, with all those twos, I think that there is going to be a lot of duality, dilemmas, and maybe oppositions, you know, confrontations, conflicts between 2 sides of the coin, as you can imagine, and it has already been brewing. So I'm going to share with you a couple of charts that I prepared. One of them is the USA Pluto return per se, the chart located in Washington, D.C. And then I will also share the chart with the USA chart with the transits outside. So bear with me, I will share my screen and I will show you what is it that the information that I gathered, right? And another factor that I wanted to point out is that at the same time that we will have the Pluto return, it will be the Neptune opposition that has already started this year, but it will happen at the same time almost than the Pluto return. Since it is such a slow transit, Neptune stays in 1 degree for about a month. So we have a month window of this influence, and almost similar with the Pluto return, right? We can say the exact day where it is exactly at 27 degrees and 33 minutes. It's on February 20th, but it will be felt for about a month or so. Okay, let me share the screen, which is this one. And So just a minute, I'm going to change something here. So first of all, you can see the chart. This is the exact chart for the location. I don't want to close it. Let's see. I hope you can see it. Okay, so this is the chart for the location in Washington, D.C. And as you can see, the ascendant is in Cancer, right? The USA natal chart has the sun on, and you will see later, I will show you, it has several planets in Cancer. So it is a strongly Cancer country. And also Cancer with and for the countries, I use a whole sign chart house system because it has been working for thousands of years with whole houses for the countries, and it works perfectly well. So as you see, Cancer was the 8th house in the natal chart of USA. Well, now it has come to prominence in this chart of Pluto return. Pluto is here, return to 27 degrees 33 minutes. Now, this is mainly a cardinal chart, 9 points of cardinal, and it's water, a lot of emotional, a lot of past coming back to play. A lot of secrets as well coming out in the open. You see the sign of Pisces is very populated, which speaks about the past, and closing cycles, as well as a spiritual awakening, maybe, but also hidden enemies. The pandemic can be included in Pisces because it goes boundless. It is, let's say, it is the vulnerability as well. So a lot of water here in this chart. Now, with a cardinal chart, we can expect a lot of changes, and what better than Pluto for making changes, right? And transformations. So there will be a lot of subjective, emotional unconsciousness here with Pisces that comes back to light. So themes of the past, especially the themes that will be revived from the time of 1776, when the country was founded, will come back to play, in my opinion. Also, we have the ascendant here at 159 of Cancer, which is really close to the world axis, which means that this chart will certainly have whatever brings to you the United States will have an influence on the world as well. And the ruler of Cancer is in Libra, which is the moon in Libra. And the moon represents the people, right? And the people in Libra looking for justice, finding balance. That will be also looking for fairness, right? And I will dig deeply and more deeply on that. But just to point out that the eighth house has come to prominence, as we say. The eighth house is the house of economic crisis. Of the national credit, for example, the debt, national debt or deficits. Also, the epidemics is the house of assets like the IRS, the taxes, and insurances and insurance practices. It's also the house of unemployment and unemployment insurance, the money that goes to unemployment. It's also the house of interest rates, right? And liabilities, the country's liabilities. Debt, as I said, loans, monetary standards, the mortality rate, mortgages, as well as the retirement funds and social security benefits, and pollution as well. And the will of people is the house commonly said to be transformational house through crisis. So we can expect those themes to be more prominent for the next 248 years, right? Because this is the chart of Pluto return. So we can expect a lot of upheavals regarding shared resources and an economic crisis. So sad to say, but that's the reality this chart is showing. And not only that, but the moon is in the last quarter square with Pluto. So we can expect intense crisis, let's say. Let me see my notes here. Well, in this chart, which is just the chart of that day, the houses that have more activities are the 7th, 8th, and 9, right? And somewhat the 10th and the 11th, but mainly these houses are the most populated ones. So we may see a lot of activities with other countries that may not be as peaceful, right? Venus is with Mars and Pluto in the 7th house. So it could be conflicts with partners, country partners, allies, or even enemies, right, of the country. Then the 8th house in this chart is in Aquarius, and this talks about the maybe internet activity, regulations, blockages, and also we have Mercury here with Saturn, and I'll talk more about those when I show you the transits, right? But for now, the 8th house in this chart has Saturn there, so there are limitations, let's say, scarcity maybe. And let's see, 9th house would be international affairs, foreign affairs. And I will analyze all these planets in particular as transits. The midheaven is in Pisces, which see, the crises, as I said, may affect the image the country has in the world, and even the whole world, because of this boundless country. The country has this boundless prominence or the boundless identity out there in the public view, right? It's like is the English language is the language that is used in the whole world. The dollar is the money that is recognized all over the world. But we will see some interesting twists and turns to that. Now we see Chiron in the 10th house. The 10th house represents the government in power. So Chiron there is not a good omen, I will say, for the government in power, right? And then we have this Uranus in the 11th house of the legislature, where there are going to be surprises with legislation and surprises in the goals the country has, right? So, but as I said, this is not the transits, this is just the chart, and I am showing you this as an introduction. Also, there is the configuration of this chart as a fan, with the handle will be the focus, or handle would be the moon, with all these planets here as the fan, right? Now, we also have all these planets, except for the moon, on one side of the nodal axis. And that makes the energy kind of claustrophobic, you know, that we are pushed and blocked in some way from karma and dharma, from the south node and the north node. It's like a squeeze of the energy between the nodal, the nodes of the moon. So, and that is a factor to consider, because there is this is a special configuration of a kind called in Eastern astrology tradition, they call it Kalsarpa yoga. So it is a configuration, as I said, that adds pressure to the chart, lots of pressure. And this yoga comes from the south node onto the north node. So it's like forcing us to come from this past into the future, forcing us to leave behind certain things that are not useful anymore, and embrace the future. And Taurus will be the future to embrace, and Taurus represents nature, energy, the natural, let's say the natural resources and such. So now let's see, now I will, if I can, just a minute, please. So now what I'm showing you here is the natal USA chart. Here we have, it's also very cardinal in water. So the ascendant is 12 degrees 21, and remember that, because I will show you the previous chart with the ascendant here, so you see more clearly the transits. So Pluto is in the 2nd house, the moon in the 3rd with the south node, and see all the planets in Cancer, right? It's Venus, Jupiter, the sun, and Mercury. So 4 planets, a stellium in Cancer, which makes the country a lot of Cancer, right? And remember what I said, the chart has brought Cancer to prominence in the Washington, D.C. area. So all these planets will be very prominent on the first house of that chart, right? With the ascendant very close to Venus. So the first natal planet to rise will be Venus, then Jupiter, etc. So, but this is very significant because, as I said, the crisis will be economic. So Venus is important, that is the first natal planet to rise over the horizon. So that is very important. And Mars and Uranus will stay in the 12th house of the chart, independently from the transits. I hope I explained that clearly. So, and again, we have the transit of Neptune, right, in Pisces here, opposing Neptune. And that will happen in March 1st, 2022, for the second time. The first time Neptune reached 22 degrees 25 minutes was in May 2nd, this year. So a couple of months ago, maybe 2-3 months ago, May 2nd. So, and then on March 1st, 2022, Neptune will be retrograde at 22 degrees, 25 minutes of Pisces, opposing. And March 1st is just 10 days, 10, 11 days after the Pluto return, which makes it already strong, because it means that already during the Pluto return, Neptune will already be at 22 degrees. Okay, so let's now go to, I'm gonna do a new share, and I will share the transits chart to come back to the first one. But first I will share the, okay, the transits. Here is the transits chart. And now you see the ascendant here in Sagittarius, right? And you see all the planets located in the houses of the natal chart, as the natal chart, right? So we have all these planets now in the northern hemisphere here of the chart, and where we are dealing with domestic issues, right? And the moon is the only one up here, except for black moon lilies, but and they are in almost perfect trine there. Anyways, but the moon is the only one up there in the public eye, let's say. And all these planets in the northern hemisphere show that the country will be most focused on domestic issues, right? Issues that are with people, economy, communication, in the 6th house, in the 5th house. So these issues will be more prominent. Now, let's see. Now I will go back to the other chart and I will change it. So keep in mind this position, and I will show you the same position on the other chart. So you will see more clearly. I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna keep this one. The other chart, let's see. I'm gonna do this next one. Okay. Okay, so now I'm gonna do this one again, and I'm gonna change the house calculations, and I'm gonna put this with the ascendant in Sagittarius. So this one shows the aspects more clearly than the by wheel. So that's why I'm going to use this one. So the ascendant was here at 12 degrees, right? And we have the ruler of the ascendant, Sagittarius, is Jupiter, right? And Jupiter is squaring the ascendant. See, it's 1152, and the ascendant was 1221. So it is applying, and it's almost let's say 8 and 21, so that'll be 29 degrees, less than 29 degrees, minutes of separation. So it's an almost perfect square. So what happens when the ruler of the first house is squaring the ascendant? Well, it's a turn of direction, right? The country will turn away from the identity that it had so far until now, and it will go against the traditions, against the origins. It will do something that it will probably be done by the people here, and especially people who are opposing the power, the government in power. So the people, the population will be in charge of this change. And not only that, but I want to read about the midpoint, because Jupiter is at the midpoint between the sun here in Pisces at 2 degrees and Neptune at 22 degrees. And midpoints are very important, and also it is conjuncting the IC, which is the most intimate part of the country, right? Which is the population, which is the fourth house, which is let's see, it is the public opinion, it is the water, right? The water supplies, the security, the people's security, is the land, is the community, it is also the raw materials, the crops, everything that comes from the land. So it is very important for the identity of the country, right? It is the IC of the country. So, and Jupiter, the ruler of the ascendant, is midpoint between the sun and Neptune. And I'm reading from this book, Midpoints, from Michael Mukasey, who says that the combination of the sun and Neptune highlights dreams that are about the ability and determination to present yourself as a competent and effective person or country in this place, in this case. So the idealism molds motives and purposes, and there are dreams of competence and self-effectiveness, and usually the country in this case becomes deceived by its own concepts of self-importance, and lavishly shower devotion on trivial matters. So there is a personal feelings of divinity. So there's the exaltation of the the dreams, right, of who one is. In this case, the sun in Pisces. And also the sun in Pisces is more spiritual, but is also more confused at the same time because it's boundless, as I said. So there is idealism encouraged in looking at and it's not looking at the reality of life. It's more evasive and more avoiding the reality and looking for mystical dreams and adventures. And so the reasoning of the people, in this case, of fourth house, right? There's going to be confusion. Trying to escape reality and living in dreams and idealizations. So the practical responsibilities will not be on the table. I'm going to show you what, and this is about Sun Neptune midpoint, but when Jupiter is at the midpoint, it says it increases desires to slip away and live in a world of illusions and fantasies, and that is magnified by the power of Jupiter. Expands the power to mentally visualize and create the future, right? And is developing a philosophy built around escape and dreaming and something out there that is not real yet. So, and in the practical sense, there will be fundamental errors of conceptualization, right? And especially expanded by Jupiter that wants it big dreams, big visions of the future that are not realistic. However, even though it's painted negatively, I think that the people are dreaming of a better future, right? And in the people's mind, there will be this imagination, this creativity, Pisces, right? The creativity of the future. So I think it will be the people who will, in their minds, imagine how they want this country to become, to be, and probably dreaming about a more compassionate kind of country, right? Because remember, Jupiter is the ruler of the ascendant, which is the identity of, and it's together with the sun. So people are dreaming of a better way to be. And this is refreshing, right? Even though they might be thought of too much of an escape or dreamy, it has the negative side, which will be escaping reality. But I think at this time, reality might be so cruel that we will need to focus our dreams in the future in order to build something different in the future, right? So Pluto is in the second house together with Venus and Mars. And Pluto has been transforming the economy of the country, right? And it started as soon as Pluto entered in 2008, with the crisis of 2009, if you remember, that was when Pluto entered Capricorn, and since then we have been under the grind of Pluto. So the economy has turned and turned and turned and transformed itself. So we don't discard a deep crisis, as I said. And that will certainly change the who the country think it is, right? let's go back to the concept of the fan, right? There is this, this is the fan, and this is the handle, the moon, right? And if you look at it, all these planets are aspecting the moon. The moon is the one planet that has most aspects. And let me show you the aspect grid here. Oh, you can't see it. Let me see, share. Yeah, this is the aspect grid. Here is the aspect grid. So you see the moon is square Venus, square Mars, trine Saturn, quincunx Neptune, square Pluto, opposite Chiron, and counter parallel Chiron, which means also a kind of an opposition. So as you see, the moon is the planet that is most aspected. And remember, the moon represents the people. And the second most aspected planet is in fact Venus. Venus, remember, this is all about an economic transformation. So the second planet most aspected is Venus conjunct Mars, parallel Saturn, which means almost conjunction, right? And trine Uranus, the agent of transformation, and conjunct Pluto by sign, and sextile Neptune. So it has 5 aspects, and the moon has 7 aspects, or 8. So let's go back to the chart. And now you can see it. So the moon is opposite Chiron. So Chiron in the 5th house, it's certain vulnerabilities, certain wounding about the joys of life. So places of entertainment will probably not be for people at that time. So let's say sports and any activity for the enjoyment of people will not agree with the state of the people. And Chiron also in the 5th house is about, it is about diplomacy and diplomatic officers. So there might be some concern about diplomacy, but also the youth of the country will be affected by this opposition between Chiron and the moon. It is separating, sorry. The moon is the fastest planet and is separating. So it might be that it is already in the past, you know, children who couldn't go to school because of the pandemic, and youth, the youth of the country has suffered a lot with the pandemic and all that. Maybe all that is behind us, but still it's 10 degrees apart, 11 degrees apart. So it may not be so much. So then we have the squares, right? Squares to Venus, and Venus is so the moon is ruler of the 8th house of crises and transformations, as I mentioned before, and the part of the economy that talks about security and social security and mortgages and taxes and all that. And that is in square with Venus. Venus is the natural ruler of the second house. So now there she is with Mars, which is not so good, I would say. It's applying to the conjunction though. And it's also the ruler of the sixth house. So the fact that this is in square, the ruler of the eighth, square the ruler of the sixth, it might talk about crises that are affecting the poor, that are affected, the people, the workers, you know. The sixth house is the house of healthcare and the public health, also the labor unions, workers, you know, blue collar workers, the military, manufacturing industries, social services in general, and anything that is out of balance. And with Uranus in Taurus there for 4 more years probably, we will have upheaval after upheaval, especially affecting the lower classes in society. And that will be related to the economy, right? So it isn't a trine relationship, but still Uranus, still Uranus. It doesn't matter if it is trine or square, although the transformations that it could affect the economy may be progressive. They may be slower because of Taurus, and Venus rules Taurus, so Venus has the upper hand on Uranus this time. So also the Mars, the moon is in the last quarter square to Mars. So that relationship is not very good either, because this creates some tension between the actions and the assertiveness and the people. So see, Venus also rules Libra, meaning that it is in square to the moon, and the moon is in her sign. So as I said, the issues ruled by Venus, which are finances, money, and peace and harmony, are not agreeing with what the moon is doing here in Libra, even though Venus is ruling Libra, right? But Venus in Saturn ruled sign like Capricorn, and together with Mars and Pluto, it is an unhappy Venus, right? It's a Venus that is contracted, constricted, limited. It may also talk about scarcity, right, and dryness of the pockets. And also, if we see the moon in Libra concerned about the need of relationships, the need of relating among people, right? In the 11th house of groups and associations and social life, we may say this Venus is restricting the people, is restricting this moon. So there are a lot of meanings that we can play with. That's why I was saying I am not going to talk about all of them because it's overwhelming. But the moon, and I think with this I will end this episode. The moon in the 11th house is talking about civic organizations, the collective bargaining, you know, national goals and dreams, also governance interference as the House of Representatives and legislative activities. And it's also legislation per se. The left wing, it's also about the allies and friends of the country, the legislative body, public gatherings, there could be protests as well, although they may be peaceful and restricted, right? Venus and Capricorn, and Libra is peaceful. So it's probably going to call for a social contract, moon in Libra. So, and also this shows the interdependence with other friendly countries, right? And the need to relate to friendly countries. And also the moon in Libra speaks about not being okay if the other is not okay, right? So I leave you with these ideas for now, and just with the idea that the moon is opposite Chiron, is quincunx Neptune. It is quincunx as well with Jupiter, and it is, and the sun, well, it's 120, 30, 40 degrees. So it's a square and a half with the sun, square and a half. I will take a deeper look at these aspects one by one in the next episode, but you have a trine with Saturn, which is also separating because the moon is at 21 and Saturn, slowest planet, is at 17. And then we have these squares here. So we will talk more about this chart next time. We will address Uranus and the North Node and the South Node and the Ascendant and all that. So thank you for watching. I hope I didn't bore you too much with all this information, but just food for thought. Start thinking about what you, and make comments, and let me know what you think, and if you have clarifying points that you would like to share, I will greatly appreciate. Let's stop the share, and thank you for watching. And if you're interested in personal reading, you know, my contact information is down in the description below the video, and I wish you the best. Prepare for the rest of this year up until February, when the USA will experience this Pluto return. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.